With only 3 weeks to go and one spot left in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, can we see an absolutely amazing episode on SmackDown? Let's have a look. I'm Boise and this is Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews. And what ways we started with the show tonight, we had Samoa Joe literally go down to the ring, get a ladder, climb up, pick up the suitcase and claim he will be Mr. Money in the Bank. What an absolutely brilliant way. This caused Daniel Bryan to come out and confront him, said, look Joe, you haven't beaten me yet. And because both men were about to have a fight straight away, Big Cass comes out, interrupts them once again and states he's talked to Paige and said that once he's medically cleared, he will be taking on Samoa Joe for the Money in the Bank ladder match final spot. Then he attacks both Joe and Daniel Bryan, claiming he's already medically cleared. This was an awesome start to the show. All three men looked absolutely pumped and ready for an absolutely awesome match. And Samoa Joe's absolutely awesome opening segment where he was preaching in the center of the ring was fantastic. Later on we did find out that Big Cass had actually lied and he had not spoken to GM Paige, but because she liked the way he went around it, she inserted him into the main event of the night where we will see Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe versus Big Cass in a triple threat match. For me, brilliant start to the show, entertaining from start to finish, and it just made you really want to see that main event. So our first match of the night was Ty Dillinger versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now this all started with a Twitter feud, because everything has to start with a Twitter feud it seems nowadays. This was Shinsuke Nakamura trying to get in the mind of AJ Styles, counting to 10 on Twitter. Ty Dillinger's whole thing is he is the perfect 10. So he challenged Shinsuke Nakamura to a match. For me, this was an okay match. You already knew straight away who was going to win. Shinsuke obviously got the win over Ty, but it was good to see Ty Dillinger in the ring. It has been some time. And I'm going to give an extra point because they allowed Ty to have some offense against Shinsuke Nakamura. It wasn't much, but it did build him up a little bit. It seemed to be a squash match, which was a good thing. So for me, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. We already knew the result before the match even started, but because they allowed Ty to have a little bit of time and it kind of built up a little momentum for him, not too much, I'm going to give this a little 5 out of 10. Next up we had the dance-off, which was probably the weirdest part of the night, where we saw Lana versus Naomi. In Lana's side she did have Aiden English and her husband Rusev, and then we had Naomi with Jimmy and Jay Uso. This was fine. I was rather surprised, and to be honest, the fans seemed to enjoy it as well, which was good fun. Sometimes you need a little bit of something like this just to spicing up the show. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 because it did what it needed to do. Both women had a dance off. We saw a spinner Rooney by Lana, which Booker T would have been proud of, I must say. And both women started, just appreciating each other's dancing, it seemed. Danced together a little bit. Then Lana attacked. So of course, Lana's the heel, which makes sense. This caused Jimmy and Jay and Rusev and Aiden English to fight each other quickly, and before Naomi knocked out Lana out of the ring. This also announced that next week we will see a mixed match, which is going to be Rusev and Lana taking on Jimmy and Naomi, which I will look forward to seeing. I think that's going to be good, and they're using a specialized match which had great effects on the mixed match challenge, so it's nice to see WWE bringing it into the main roster type of matches as well. So for me, I'm giving this a 5 out of 10 because it was entertaining. Next up we had a 6-man tag team match, and I'm gonna say it started off a little bit stiff for me, a bit slow, but really built up and made some great impact from me. We had the New Day taking on the Miz and The Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus, And again, I have got to say, Xavier Woods was absolutely brilliant in this match. The Miz was fantastic, very good heel tactics from The Bar as well. Altogether, it might have started off quite slow, but once it got into full gear, it was absolutely brilliant. It's the type of match I absolutely enjoy when it comes to a six-man chat. You know, six-man tag team matches are one of my favourite type of matches. You see them quite a lot in WWE, but they're usually not as good as you hope they will be. But this one was well put together, and you can tell that everyone competing in it just had something important to do in the match, which was great. The New Day did get the win. Big E did pin The Miz. I think this is a red herring. I think this is showing, because The Miz has been beaten quite a few times. The Bar's been beaten by the New Day. I think something's going to happen at Money in the Bank, and I think we could see The Miz take the briefcase on that night, but we'll have to wait and see. But very good match. I enjoyed every single bit of it, so I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Next up, we did have Mandy Rose taking on Asuka, and this all started because Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville pretty much argued with Paige about why Asuka had been given a title opportunity. So Paige went, if you want to know why, Mandy, you're going to have a match with her tonight. They seemed pretty happy with it, which I was rather surprised with, because I would have been like, what? But yes, Mandy was happy to have a match with Asuka, and Mandy was in the ring first. No Sonya Deville. Asuka comes down, and obviously Sonya Deville attacks her from behind. Asuka does get into the ring. The referee starts the match, and to be honest, after that it was kind of like it was a typical heel babyface match where the heel has the advantage at the start. The babyface finally starts getting momentum, and the babyface gets the win. All this was involved as well with Carmella on mic, which wasn't really as interesting, because Corey Graves was too interested talking about Mandy Rose, which was quite interesting to see Carmella get angry with Corey, who's the colour commentator. So that was fine for me. I thought that was quite funny. Asuka gets the win. Carmella goes up to her, puts up the title. Not a big cheer. There was not even boos. It was very quiet, which just shows you what the crowd think of Carmella as champion. The only thing which is worrying me right now is how are they going to book this Money in the Bank match? Are they going to have Carmella win, or are they going to have Asuka win? If Asuka wins, it makes the most sense. She is one of the most dominant women's wrestlers on all of WWE roster. But are they going to allow Carmella to get a win like they did with Charlotte, where she won clean? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. For me, I'm going to give this match a 4 out of 10. It was just below average because it was so plain to see what was going to happen. And next up, that comes to our main event of the night, where we had a triple threat match. Big Cass taking on Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan. Now for me, this was an absolutely brilliant main event, and I'm going to give WWE all the credit they deserve, and I'm also going to tell them off at the same time. One, brilliant booking on Daniel Bryan's part. Daniel seemed like the most dominant wrestler in the whole match. What I'm going to take away from him is, what the hell were you thinking at the end? So, mainly in the whole match, both Samoa Joe and Daniel Bryan kicked the crap out of Big Cass, which is good to see. Big Cass didn't seem too much of a threat. He had a bit of momentum, but that was shortly cut by both Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe in parts during the whole match. Samoa Joe, in my part, seemed a little bit slower than he usually does in ring, so that kind of had me a bit concerned. Daniel Bryan was on full gear. I am going to attack and win, and I thought that was brilliant. Daniel was the most dominant in the whole match, not from start to finish, in my opinion. The only thing I didn't understand is the ending, the end booking. Samoa Joe wins, which I'm happy with because I'm glad Samoa Joe's in the Money in the Bank suitcase ladder match, because he is one of my favourite wrestlers. But him beating Daniel Bryan, true, Daniel did not tap out. He was out cold, which is fine, that still makes Daniel look strong. But why not? Why are you protecting Big Cass at this stage? If I was the writers, I would have gone, wait, why don't we have Big Cass get knocked out? Makes him look a bit stronger. He doesn't tap out, he's knocked out. And still protect Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan just feels like it's, again, poor booking towards him. But for me, I'm not going to take too much away from that. It was a very, very strong main event. Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe really put out a good show. Big Cass was really impressive for me as well. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Good show, good match. I enjoyed it. And there you go, that was SmackDown Live for this week. We did have some important backstage segments as well, which I'll talk about now. First off, we did have the Good Brothers do a backstage interview with Renee, talking about how they are preparing to take on the Bludgeon Brothers. The Bludgeon Brothers came onto the TV and stated they will liquidize their opponents. Interesting segment. I found it rather interesting, and I like how Anderson and Luke Gallows like this. I enjoyed the babyface stage which they're in. Next up, we did see Andrade Cien Almas and Sin Cara have a backstage segment as well, which looks like it's going to build up to a match, which I wouldn't mind seeing. Sin Cara was just happy to see his friend. Andrade looked really confused why he was touching him, and Vega came out and said, "Don't you dare touch my client." So, again, good segment. It's definitely building up to something, which is great. And then we saw Becky Lynch and Charlotte watching Asuka's match, Charlotte stating that she's going to win the Money in the Bank suitcase match. And then Becky was like, "No, I'm going to win it." Paige loved the, a little bit of like friendly rivalry, and stated she's going to put both women in a match next week. So every segment was used for a reason, which was good fun. For me, the whole show was well put together, good main event. Even the dance-off was better than I was expecting. So for me, I'm going to give this a decent 6 out of 10. So there you go, guys. If you do like our videos, please like and subscribe, press the notification button, and if you want to follow the channel on Twitter, you can. It's at Smack Talk YouTube, that's YouTube. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Boise88, and I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.